Morning, Nancy Jean.
Morning, Scott.
So we're gonna try the close up here. The close up look.
Make it easier for you to see the cards.
Yeah, see if this is scary or better. And yeah, King of Cards.
Yeah, you can really see your cards now, Scott.
Jack Smith coming on. It's kind of nice. That's what I picked up. Just grabbed them too.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about this, I'm sure.
Judgment coming. The rock and roll.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna create a quick banner. I just had this thought. Let's see if I have anything in there. It has to do with because the energy was like now last week with Alvin Bragg.
I heard an interesting thing last night about Alvin Bragg and that whole thing. That he may have been pulled back. You know how much faster Jack Smith's gotten on his stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Jack Smith may be even closer than they knew, and he may have asked him to hold off for a week so the feds go first.
That was kind of my sense. Because he was ready to rock and roll. I mean, we felt like it. Yeah, it's ready to go. Then all of a sudden they pulled back the grand jury, and then Trump had that other lawyer come in that probably screwed his case.
Costello, the one that screwed the case worse than anything.
Yeah.
Why would you go to Giuliani's good buddy and think you were going to get any better advice? But
yeah, they're bigger. More documents needed. 2-3 Apple needed. Thanks. But oh yeah, to me it feels like the January 6th stuff is still looming. You know, he's still trying to get Pence and just got the order that everyone has to testify.
Yeah, all the ones have hidden so far.
So that feels like it's still, we're talking mid-July finishing, but the documents case is on the end.
Yeah.
So that's where Jack has a hammer coming down.
And he should.
Right, Susie. Trump said he was getting indicted, but we were sensing, I think we both got, last week, there was no delay cards. There's no patience, nothing like that. But we didn't see it was Tuesday. We thought it was later in the week, Wednesday or Thursday. But he ended up canceling everything. They had all those, the officers and everything were starting to coordinate. Oop. He's just going to start that.
Oh. Yeah, I was just telling Scott, I have a good friend who knows me well, who called me in the middle of the afternoon yesterday. And he says, come on, hurry, get all dressed up. We're going to go. And I said, we're going to go where? And he said, I'm taking you down to Waco. And I said, no, you're not.
Thanks for all the questions.
Okay.
Sorry, quick.
Questions.
Okay. Let's get started on this digging. What's the energy on Alvin Bragg on his indictment? Morning, Alan. Sharon Shipe. Linda Sandoval. Pegasus. Okay. Alvin Bragg. He will have victory. Oh. 6 of Swords coming out. So there's a...
Let's somebody moving to somewhere else. I got the 6 of Swords too, Scott.
I think it has a lot of worry about violence and whatnot and all the death threats. I'm sensing some coordination with the FBI and law enforcement yet. I'm getting here, there wasn't going to be a smooth transfer. I'm not getting here coordination with Jack Smith. It's more of a coordination with the FBI and Secret Service.
Yeah, we all know how corrupt the FBI is in New York. They only pulled a Russian spy out
Yeah.
of there. I mean, they're not people that would want to stop it, but Trump's announcement that it was going to be Tuesday was because tomorrow night is the close of a FEC report, Monday night. So he wanted to get as much money as he could in, and he used the fact he was about to be indicted.
Yeah. I mean, if it was I don't know, I didn't see a report, but I heard someone say he got a couple million after he said he was
Yeah,
being.
he got $1.5 million in 2 days.
So yeah, here, so I got that Six of Swords coming in here with the King of Wands. So there's
Mm-hmm.
coordination with someone important. It could be
Mm-hmm.
FBI director, could be Jack Smith, but usually he would drop out as the King of Swords. And then here's all the law enforcement. So they needed
Mm-hmm.
some kind of smooth transfer to happen, and it wasn't going to play out the way they hoped.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they couldn't make a coordination to have the former guy come in, but they will have victory, and there is success coming here.
Yeah.
But they want to limit the problems,
Mm-hmm.
which may be the case where they might have to just come in and snag him with the U.S. Marshals or something.
Yeah, because apparently DeSantis is not going to
I sense like he's not going to want to come in easy. That kind of
No,
feeling.
he wants to make a scene. He's like a toddler. Try to get a toddler out of a grocery store when they're having a fit, you know?
So it feels like they're going to try to do a night
Mm-hmm.
drop, and 45 is not going to be 45 is not going to be informed.
No, what I got was they'd waited for a while. They're waiting for their own time to make the move. They thought they had everybody together because the Five of Pentacles in this, to me, when it's reversed, means you've gotten a hold of all the people you need to get a hold of. They were ready in many ways to make this transfer, and then something mucked up the gears. Something stopped things from happening in a
Yeah,
charitable way. But my end card is he ends up there. So
he went to Waco for pointers.
well,
Yeah,
all of the people who could help him point are dead. So I don't know who was going to help him.
snag him at 2 a.m. while he's true socializing. Morning,
You
Deanne.
know what's going to kill Trump? I think one of these judges is going to put a gag order on everybody.
Oh, let's wait on that because that should happen.
Mm-hmm.
Especially all the violence he's putting out there.
Now, Teresa, they didn't even have the grand jury has to vote the indictment before they can go get him to do anything. And the other thing is, I don't know if you've ever served. Have you ever served on a grand jury or any of that kind of stuff?
I was once on a jury for a case.
Yeah, I did grand jury twice. I did 6-month stints twice, and it depending on how their rules are written, we couldn't vote. Well, we could have one person missing and vote, and if everybody wasn't there, so somebody could have gotten COVID. Somebody could have had emergency surgery. I mean, I know they have 23 jurors in there, so they got lots of backup. But and they're completely anonymous. I do believe we were supposed to be, but then they had a big sign on the wall that said "Grand Jury this way," so you didn't feel particularly anonymous when you walked down that hallway. But there's all kinds of things about grand juries that don't really work with juries, and every state has its own way of handling grand juries. In Dallas, they finally went to where you have to be sort of go through some kind of vetting process. They used to just say, anybody who's interested in grand jury, come down this day. And the people who were in the know always knew when it was going to happen. And if you're retired and sitting around doing not much else, it's not a bad way to pick up some extra bucks. We used to have people I thought were just professional grand jurors, and then they changed the rules, and they can only pull from people who are in the pool that week. And there was a DA I knew, and she was like, "Oh, we're going to get the worst of the worst, and at least we were getting intelligent people." And I said, "Yeah, you were getting a lot of ex-cops. There was always a defense attorney in every grand jury I was on." And so, I mean, which gave you different perspectives. But I was on a grand jury one time with a woman who'd been on 10 times. And
Wow.
I was just like, and she ended up not having the most kind thoughts about people at times. So now in Dallas County and in Harris County, which is Houston, the other big one, you have to be in the jury pool that week, and you have to volunteer to do it. And then they kind of explain to you all the ins and outs of it. And she said at first she was scared, but now she really likes it because they get a broader perspective on hearing the cases.
So I was always curious because I don't really know the process, but so if they have 23, are you required to show up when called to come in
Yeah,
unless emergency?
right.
You just
But
can't be
what
at
we
work.
had is you could do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday. And it was a 6-month stint.
Hmm.
And the only time I didn't go in is when I'd had the melanoma taken off my leg because I was too drugged to even see straight, much less listen to anything. And then the day that all of Dallas flooded and you couldn't have gotten out of where I lived, none of the other jurors, when I talked to them, could get out of their houses. So, no, we never particularly socialized. We'd always have lunch afterwards, but we never really talked to each other much, nor did any of those people. Well, one woman became a close friend because she retired and I convinced her to become her precinct chair. And so she talks to me, mostly to scream at me for getting her to be her precinct chair. But uh, it's a weird little community, and you get to know the lawyers. And since I was in Crime Watch for so long, I actually had policemen I knew come in and testify for different things. So it was interesting.
Cool. Thank you.
What you got?
So yeah, it
What
looks
are we
like it really feels like it's up to him, but what he's done lately does feel very detrimental with the death threats to Bragg.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the magician, the devil, and the page of wands. So what he's done in excess feels like the magician's going to come in and gag him once he's in. So then I have the ace of wands. It's teamwork and travel, positive energy, along with an offer coming, page of cups, and a transition of how things are done. And that's the next
Mm-hmm.
three. In the end, his world is going to be changed completely once he gets indicted.
Mm-hmm.
So I think law enforcement's going to be involved. It's going to. So I got the Wheel of Fortune coming in. It's going to change him completely. And then here's my indictments card coming in, and then law enforcement comes in again.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like it's hammer time.
Yeah.
Kind
I
of
asked,
feeling.
I
Bragg,
asked
Bragg hits him, then Fanny hits him, hits him. And it's like I don't think he's going to have the time to talk. Feeling.
every time he talks, he hangs himself a little more. I asked if the Bragg situation was around security, and the first card was disinformation. Now, all the rest of these cards are yes. They want it to be justice. They want to be able to get through and carry off what they've spent all this time getting done. They're still looking at some ways to handle this, but they're going to reach their goal. But when I laid these cards down, what I saw, as much as it was their own security, they don't want him to set it up so he ends up being a martyr.
Mm.
They don't want him. I mean, at this point, when they start, someone must. is going to have to explain to him how much of what his running around and being able to eat burgers all day in Mar-a-Lago is going to go away. And I think, especially if they tell him he's going to have a gag order, can you imagine him sitting in a little room talking only to himself?
Okay. So, well, that's what we were sensing last week. It'd be Wednesday or Thursday, so it's probably going to be a Wednesday or Thursday of some week here very soon.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are pretty good because your jury meets either Monday and Tuesday, and then the paperwork has to go through a couple little things, unless you're already sitting in jail. A lot of the people I was hearing cases on were sitting in jail, couldn't get out unless we. So that's why they want us to run them through as fast as we could.
I think I heard that Manhattan jury meets Monday and Wednesday.
No, make 3 days a week. They meet. They don't meet Friday, and they meet Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But
anyway, okay. Let's see what our cards.
You just want to see if it's going to be this week. See if we get a guess.
Just do it this week. See if we get any delay cards.
Okay. I'm putting it at Manhattan because I can't imagine, unless the lawyer really says something astounding to Smith, that they can get it together that fast. But
to me, I sense like Georgia and Smith might be indicting about the same time, a little bit later. You know, like 2-3 weeks, maybe 2 now.
I don't get Manhattan this week. I get no on the Wheel of Fortune, and then 10 would be completing the process. I get no on justice not getting what it wants.
Have the evidence.
I got no on them being able to get him to go away. But in the near future, what I see is a higher power going after him and really going after him, guys. I mean, 10 of Swords.
Weird. I have no delay cards.
Mm-hmm.
I have law enforcement energy, and then the Hierophant coming in.
I had the Hierophant too. I think the feds are telling him to hold off.
It's what it usually feels like, because there's something new coming in from the federal government. I didn't get the King of Swords, but I'm getting law enforcement. The 10 of Coins would represent the information's good. For some reason, I have the King of Cups, which is usually a Biden card, but it's a...
No, he's not screwing with anything.
Right. But it's definitely a male leader, but he doesn't feel like a Biden. Oh, there might be some talk with Merrick Garland, what I'm feeling here. Yes, because the King of Swords would switch to Jack, and maybe the King of Cups now here is Merrick Garland, overseeing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Merrick's in the loop now, coordinating with the FBI and whatnot, because we have some communications with the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the...
Could that be the Secret Service? Does the Secret Service think it's not safe?
Yeah. This is the the Knight of Swords is my every services. The FBI, CIA, whatever you want to call it. Secret Service. So then I have also some testimony from a female. It could be one of there's a female coming into the grand juries, maybe one of Trump's lawyers or something. So here's
that's Stormy.
Could be like a grand jury. Here's a whistleblower. They got new news from a female lawyer. because who was that? There was this other lawyer, hardly known, this Little, that they were seeking testimony from that I seen.
Mm,
That's their name.
mm.
Because they were seeking Corcoran, I think, and then this Little, because I guess she was involved with Georgia.
Oh,
But
there was a woman that he hired and then she quit because he wanted her to cover up about the documents. She wouldn't say why she quit. She just said she was being asked to do things that were outside the scope of her services.
well, that could be her then. There's someone.
Mm-hmm.
This is
That
showing
was a
there.
name I'd never heard. They said it's one of the few intelligent lawyers that figured out MAGA means make attorneys get attorneys. So,
So I think they got some good evidence from her about
well,
this.
they may have gotten from her to get to Corcoran in case they need to back up what Corcoran was saying.
Yes. So that's what I'm sensing here. It kind of threw a wrinkle in the process here,
Mm-hmm.
and it brought things good to light, and boom. Okay. So,
I'm so sick of this.
I know.
Well, you know what? You've seen the pattern? Boris Johnson was also on the firing line this week in
I heard
England
something about that.
about his COVID regulations. But once they started looking at that, they found all other kinds of crap. And Williamson, who was a Trump wannabe, that was the prime minister of Australia. Now that they've been looking at him, he's in trouble too. All three of them. All three of the would-be fascists.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Karen. Jennifer Little is a witness ordered to pierce attorney-client privilege. She was part of that. Nice. All right.
Thank you. It's lovely to have people out there that can look on their phones and find all this stuff we can't
bring it up quick. Thank you.
Scott and I were having a discussion before we came on that we are getting older. And sometimes when you're in the point where you're really reading, your recall gets really bad because you're in a different state of mind than you are when you're like walking around being a person.
Yes. Let's switch it up, get some different vibes.
Let's see if they're going to.
The big seaweed.
Yes, the giant seaweed. Blech.
What's going to happen with seaweed bloom? Is it going to engulf Mar-a-Lago?
I'm just to read the questions on the screen.
It feels like.
Oh dear! Oh.
I wonder if the Keys or these small island places are going to be hit kind of hard.
Yes, because the Sargassum, that's a part of the Atlantic Ocean. It's immediately north of the Bermuda Triangle. Because I've been watching a special about digging up wrecks in the Bermuda Triangle, and they were showing the different seas, and that's the one that's just up there. Yeah, so it almost goes up to Georgia. And it's a sea part of the Atlantic that can get it's very still on top, and it has really vicious tides underneath. And yes, okay, I got this is the Page of Swords can be the messenger of bad news as well as good news.
Yeah,
it's something that they've earned because of how they've treated the ocean. It's not going to hit as soon as they think it is, but it's going to be extremely costly, and it's going to be the end of a whole lot of stuff because you've got 3 10s in here. You have the 10, the Wheel of Fortune, 10 of Pentacles, and the 10 of Wands, which is finally throwing down your burden. That means it's going to be long-term and painful and the end of a lot of stuff. It's going to be costly. And I think it's God's judgment. I'm going to play a little Moses now. It's God's judgments on DeSantis. Which cards are these? These are Eileen Connolly's tarot, and it was published in 2000, I think. I really like her cards.
I don't. My card
You
throw
don't
on this
see it,
is kind of weird, but
but if you put it on Mar-a-Lago, maybe Mar-a-Lago's down towards the southern end of Florida.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling this was coming into the middle of Florida.
Oh, middle. And let's see, may the seaweed linger, hurricane season. I got scientists trying to come up with new ideas to use the earth to engulf this thing or change it.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the magician, page of wands, queen of coins first.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like scientists, trying to change things.
No, we can't have scientists do anything like that because it's just like COVID. You can't trust the scientists. We just got to let it hit Florida.
That's something else. I don't know if it's a seaweed. I seen the whole lakes of dead fish down there, but that has to do with climate change.
Yeah,
I don't think
they
it
don't
was,
have
I
enough.
don't think it was the seaweed.
No.
Is it going to cause fish to die?
Well, how could it not cause fish to die? Anything that's up against shore, and it creates an incredible
A
sulfuric
barrier.
smelling gas.
It just feels like there will be some loss of something, but gosh, I don't know what this is. It feels like something's going to change, or there's something that scientists can do, like to try to break it up somehow. I don't know. This doesn't feel like catastrophe with my throw and trying to tap into the energy, but like something must has this. Have you ever read or something like this ever happened before?
Yes, it's happened in Florida before.
Okay, because I'm getting something like the past. Something that's happened before. They've been able to try to do something. I'm not sure what it is. It kind of feels like weird. It's like if you sprinkle something on top and it breaks it up, kind of
Yeah,
feeling.
like
But
the microbes that eat plastic that they're
yeah,
spreading
it's something like that.
on those giant there's a pool of plastic somewhere in the southern Atlantic that's the size of Texas, and they've been putting those microbes on there and letting them eat.
Yeah. But I do have some places that are going to have some destruction and
Mm-hmm.
engulf from this. But I don't know. Just a weird throw and getting the senses. I don't feel catastrophe, but some places, yeah.
Well, if
But
you're on the east coast of Florida, I think you're toast. But I think if you're on the western coast, then you just have to worry about what's going on in the Gulf, which is another set of problems.
right. My senses are kind of showing me like these little islands or the smaller
Mm-hmm.
pieces, whatever, will have more issues.
Mm-hmm.
So tough one. Seaweed plum as big as the USA.
Mm-hmm.
Microbes
The ones that eat the plastic, yeah. I think
isn't
that was developed at A&M.
isn't seaweed. Yes. There's a female scientist that knows how to turn kind of gas into hydrogen. Hydrogen is it's going to be a powerful source coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Tourist season ruined.
Yeah, it's going to cost them. I don't see them dying completely. I had kind of a mixed read, but yeah, it's going to be there.
Okay. Just trying to catch up here. Okay. Is there investigations into Trump happening around the planet for crimes? Okay. So basically, is there other countries investigating 45?
I have a feeling there's some money laundering things that might be going on about him in other countries, but I don't think anybody's. We need to get a hold of him here. We
Right.
don't need the world to help us do that.
It feels like, if other banks, well, Deutsche Bank is taking a hit again.
Mm-hmm.
Their energy's bad because of all this. Other investigations of Trump around the planet. It feels like assistance to me. So let's say if he's laundering money through a bank in Germany or whatever. But as far as a investigation by another country, it doesn't feel like there's an open investigation. It feels like there's help. Yeah, Christine, that's what I was sensing all along. It's like electric cars are going to be an energy blip, and then hydrogen energy is going to become the prevalent. Yeah. And a sad note, I was reading a story the other day. It came in my mind, and I searched for it. They think we're going to run out of oil in 50 years at our current rate of production.
Mm-hmm.
Then what are we going to do? Because we need oil forever for lubrication, no matter what. Right?
Don't they have artificial oils?
Synthetic oil, yeah, but it uses some petroleum. Yeah, we need to do something in a hurry. But I never seen electric being the big thing. It's like, I think we talked about before. I had a friend of mine not a friend of mine, but a story of a friend. Bought a used Tesla. The battery took a crap. They wanted 24 grand to replace the battery. He blew up the vehicle and he said, I'm done with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not feasible to have a vehicle when it costs 24 grand to replace the motor, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to change there. And then all the batteries, production of batteries, using of those resources, lithium. I just don't see electric as the big wave of the future. I believe it's hydrogen or some kind of small fission.
All I know about cars is if you put the key in and it turns and it starts, it's a good car. And that happened to me last week. They're replacing the key on my car right now. So
yeah, we're always going to need some kind of petroleum. But if we don't ration it soon, we're going to run out. 50. They estimate 50 to 75 years of oil left in this planet. Because it takes millions of years to create that oil.
We don't have too many more dinosaurs we can kill to get it.
I know, right? Deb wants to know, did this Waco rally help or hurt the Orange Menace?
It may be his last rally.
Chiron says the first of the future will run on magnets. Magnets are important.
Of what?
Magnets.
Oh, okay.
Good. Because I sense that has a lot to do with everything. I mean, just if you spin magnets, it creates this like a centrifuge or something. Magnets are powerful. Okay. Did Waco rally?
Okay. He did his talk thing. Information went out about it. The Queen of Swords upside down is a lot of angry women. It just makes women angrier when they see him out there. He did it because he can, because nobody's stopping him. But I see him then having to walk away from the battle. This is a no. And that it didn't help him. I think it's a wash. you got three yeses and 3 nos in those cards. So it pissed off the people it was going to piss off. And I think he looks, I don't know what other people think. I try not to be prejudiced about it because I'm not terribly fond of the man, but I think he looks weaker and weaker every time he talks.
Well, he brought up his old history hits, so it was 2 hours of rambling. So,
but his speech is so bad.
Yeah, he was.
And that's not just slipping dentures anymore.
He's losing it. I got the 8 of Swords along with his rally. So that feels like there's, like you just said, issues with his speech. You know, the blind ones will love him no matter what. Right?
I don't think he's building. It's not like in 16.
That 8 of Swords is a loss for him with his big rally. Justice is upon him. King of Swords. It's like so much weight is around him in this rally. So I guess the 4 of Wands would probably be the rally, but I have the Queen of Swords and the King of Wands around that. So it's like there's all this pressure from the outside and a little extra substance in his diet. That substance. And it's just this pressure, and he's not functioning on top skill. So it really doesn't matter. He's gonna have a tower once he's indicted and whatnot. Things will get calmer once he's indicted. I don't see this huge protest, and once they see the charges and it comes from all sides, he's gonna have a failure. So in a rally sense, the diehards are like, he's coming back. On a common sense of most people, he's done. So, the 2,000 or so that showed up yesterday were just gung ho. The ones that weren't paid, of course, right? Okay. Wake up. Okay. Apple's wondering about the pardons.
No, you can't take any presidential pardon, and that's forever. You cannot take it back. The thing is that they immediately turned around and went out and crimed again. They can get them for those, but they still have to go through the same court procedures. They cannot talk about that pardon. They cannot be compelled to say anything about that pardon. That's just a pardon. That's why there used to be, before Trump, there was a group within the Justice Department that reviewed pardons to see if they were appropriate or not. And then but the president can still do what he wanted, but at least he had a review. Trump did no review or anything.
You know, the old story, pardon is an admission of guilt.
You have to admit that you were guilty to get one. That's what's happening.
So like in a court of law, couldn't they be asked to come and talk about their guilt?
No.
They're
done. That's done. It's considered an act that's completely gone.
Okay. Thank you. Ted Nugent. What a douche. He was singing or speaking at the rally. What a way to go out. Even him and Crazy Eddie and John Voight.
Yes.
Chachi. They've all lost it. Who's the other one? Ricky Schrader.
Yeah.
They're all gone. No comment.
Well, Eric Clapton got COVID And then he wrote a song apparently about not getting vaccines, and he got COVID, and then he still wanted to go on the road, and the manager said, "No, you cannot go out with COVID and breathe on people and stuff. No, no."
Oh, these people. Joanne wants us to check on DeSantis. Nugent has a ranch in Central Texas. Good for him. He can still be
There's a whole lot. If you've never driven across the state, there's just so much nothing between here and there. You have no idea that you can drive for day. Well, how large is Texas? If you start in Houston and drive across the Texas border, heading to California, when you cross the Texas border, you're halfway to California. That's how much there is of Texas. So you could drive forever and never see any of these fools, which is part of the better part of being a part of a large state.
Hello, Angela. How you doing?
Angela lives in an interesting country in an interesting place.
Yes, Pegasus. Humans are massively gullible.
Mm-hmm.
That's the low energy of a young soul. The inability to comprehend and have common sense of rational thinking. It's all about them. So, let's check on this statement again.
Did somebody say that about young people? All young people want to do is have a chance to grow up and not be shot with a gun.
Now, true.
I mean, how many kids did you know were shot when you were a kid, Scott?
None.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was actually an accident on our farm.
Okay.
A cousin, we had my dad was renting a trailer on the farm after my grandparents moved to town.
Mm-hmm.
And a cousin of the, so there's this lady and her two kids were renting it out. The cousin came and they were messing around with the gun, and he ended up shooting his young cousin accidentally. Yes, it was an accident because of a ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was convicted of a reckless use of a handgun or a weapon or whatever, but it was basically probation and couldn't have guns anymore. But it was a hard time, having
it is.
But the cousin had a rough life. I mean, he didn't try to. He was stupid, and he killed his cousin. He had nightmares forever.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up having alcoholism, and he passed away himself young in his life. He was a year older than me.
Mm-hmm.
It destroyed a lot of lives, basically, from one little mistake. Because he didn't point the gun at him. He was farting around, shooting, and it ricocheted, and my sister and him were on a four-wheeler. And the bullet ricocheted and hit him in the back.
Ooh.
Luckily, it went, for my sister's sake, it hit his back and ricocheted up instead of through. Then it would hit my sister, too. But yeah, it was sad. I was in 8th grade. So.
But reading a book about Rosa Parks is more dangerous than that. That's why Republicans want to ban books.
Okay. Back to the
so we're doing. Will DeSantis be? Have you put your cards out yet? You want to go?
No, I was. That totally came in my mind. So
yeah,
you go ahead. I'll say.
I understand. No, people may try to push it, but people just don't want to hear about it anymore. They're going to be tired of all the stress. He will be blocked, though, from being able to move forward on many things. This is a whole level of anxiety, and he won't be officially trapped but for his wrongdoings, but they're going to trap him in making him ineffective and stopping him.
DeSantis has done so much evil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not getting a justice card or being indicted right now, but when push comes to shove, his political career is going to be over. There are investigations into him. They may not be
Mm-hmm.
indictable, but politically they're over. Because I got some secret
Mm-hmm.
indictments or secret investigations going upon
Mm-hmm.
slowly. You know, um, they're looking at the money he stole, and there's some kind of things gonna come out about his wife. I think in the summer, there's some
Yeah,
dark.
she raised a whole bunch of money for something, and
So I
nobody could
gotta,
find out where it went.
yeah. So I got something coming out this summer with his wife. There's some comes from the dark times with not getting a money card, but the Knight of Coins is some kind of money. But there will be news coming out that restricts him. He won't be president. There's nothing going on there. He won't. He might not even run. I think he's waiting till summer or June or something if he would even, decide he's going to run. He's just on a tour, but he's restricted himself in what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have news about some kind of creative dealings or something, but he did it to himself. So I'm not getting like I said, I don't sense any him going to prison right now. This is the prison card, but it doesn't associate with the other two.
Yeah, I got the Eight of Swords, but what I got was he was trapped by his own behavior, but not in prison.
That's what it feels. I mean, it associates with what cards come in, right? So let's say I had my indictment card in the final with the Eight of Swords. I would sense
Mm-hmm.
like definitely he's getting indicted, but this feels like his creative dealings did it to himself. His laws, his movements of money. But there is investigations into him. I sense those moving of migrants is still ongoing behind the scenes and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
He won't get away with everything, but his political career is not going anywhere after this. I don't feel that at all.
No.
He has to overturn the law. Not sure what that means, Oline.
If
Jump.
overturning, uh, DeSantis is trying to overturn the law um, that they have something about you can't be in two offices or something at once,
Oh, that's right.
that kind of thing.
I I don't sense that really means anything because he can run. Well, and if you don't get, I would assume, like if he's gonna be on the ticket, then I suppose he would resign, wouldn't he? Or have to resign?
George Bush stayed governor and ran for president. No, I mean that's
No.
in our state, so it
Okay.
depends on their law. So
Gotcha. Okay. Um, Todd's money. Not sure. Did Melania go on a trip to Africa?
no, I don't remember hearing that at all.
Let's see. Has Melania left the country? I don't think she's left the country. She may have. I get a sense like she may have went to the Caribbean for a while or something. I'm getting, but not. I'm not being shown Africa or Europe. I think she's just avoiding 45 as much as possible. I heard about some 3-year-old ended up shooting his 3-year-old brother.
Mm-hmm.
Where was the parents?
In Oklahoma, nothing will happen to them.
It feels like they were on bowling night and the kids were alone. That kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
No babysitter. I'm surprised they ain't got them working in the meat packing plants yet, thanks to Governor Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't care about Melania either. Yeah, good point. It's you can't hold office and run office at the same time. Oh, okay. So if that's the law there, then he would have to resign if he wants to run for president. Like I said, this whole thing is annoying.
Mm-hmm.
All the presidential talk that won't happen for another 18 months. Dan, who gets indicted next? After 45?
After 45, I think before they go for Jared, I think Jared's an issue they can get later because of the money he got from the in that deal. But I think they go after the legislators that are going to try to do everything they can to undermine Trump, undermine the people trying to put Trump up for trial.
To me, it feels like Jared's a lock kind of indictment. So
Mm-hmm.
they got him. I think they're worried about getting that man and all his cronies from January 6th. Okay, yeah, we were going to do that. Okay, Janet and Mr. Dan Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Pro Zawich. Could never say her name. So hopefully it's true, but I did see in my mind's eye before I even knew about the case. I think I looked at it January, I think maybe, and I seen a blonde woman winning. In my eye, show me who's going to win. That would be Janet. So let's see. Give me 3 cards for Janet, and 3 cards for Dan Kelly on the election, April 7th. Dan Kelly. Show me 3 cards for Dan Kelly.
The way the car's laid for me, Scott, is it still as close to a toss-up, and everybody needs to go vote.
Don't tell me that. So, unless the GOP gets more people
She does
voting,
slightly better. She's got 3 yeses. He's got a maybe, but he's got a Wheel of Fortune as his out. So these are her 3 cards.
I guess.
The 2 of Cups, the Lovers, which is also people making a choice.
Yeah.
But the Knight of Pentacles would say people are still waiting on making that choice, or do we need to do this? Every person that wants to keep Wisconsin moving needs to vote for her, because he got off to a bad start and he hasn't been very active in campaigning because he feels like he has a Wheel of Fortune. He feels like he has something that can push it through anyway. So, I mean, what this one says is, with these 2 cards, these 2 cards, is everybody has to make a choice and they need to go out and vote. And I pulled the wrong guy again. And the Lovers, they need to make a choice. So it's not a sure thing. I mean, she should win. She has a better chance of winning. He certainly hasn't worked as hard as he should have to get his point across. But
So I guess he was on the Supreme Court before.
mm-hmm.
He tried to get on 2 years ago, but lost. Lost out of the primary, so now this time he's in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
A lady life, bless you. Bless you for the donation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Nancy and I will split that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
He's
nice.
very good about that.
I have her, Janet getting
No,
the
I'm not
more
running for
vote. So I got Nancy, not Nancy, Janet getting the, I got you on my mind, sorry.
I don't want to be on your Supreme Court. How many times have I told you?
So I got her coming in with more votes, but I do have the Hermit. So that is kind of a little spiritual illumination, maybe some more thoughts. But I have the Six of Swords, the Four of Coins, and Knight of Wands for Kelly. So that means like he's restricted. He's moving on. Doesn't feel like he's moving into the position. Four of Coins is kind of like the restricted part, and Knight of Wands is positive energy, but with the four of Coins in the middle sensing, I don't think he's gonna win this. But like you said, it takes more. Don't
ever assume anything. Go
right,
vote.
Of course. In the primary, there were more Democratic voters. That is a positive sign. On my travels at work, I see more Dan Kelly signs than I do Janet signs. I don't know how the algorithm works, but I see more Dan Kelly. Supposedly, Janet's team is out fundraising and out messaging the Kelly team.
They may be going door to door instead of buying signs.
Yeah. But I actually hear more Dan Kelly ads on my YouTube and wherever. So, but I feel Janet. I've always felt Janet, so I'm going to stick with that. Mm-hmm. Always stick with my first thoughts. Okay.
So where are we going next?
Dorian's wondering about this again. I think we looked at it. I can't remember if it was us or Tuesday.
It was you on Tuesday because I haven't looked at it at all.
Oh, the Willow Project?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you get into it then. Yes, it is, Dan. It is crucial. Janet's going to win. So basically, why this approval happened, what we read, is that Biden and his lawyer, the lawyer team in the White House decided they couldn't win it because the Trump contract and his administration, they tried to axe it, but they had the contract and whatnot. They couldn't win in court, so they had to let this project go forward because they would have lost in court. That's what the lawyers decided. So they gave them something to let this project go forward in hopes of, the best outcome for the wildlife and everything. I heard there may be lawsuits, but would it be expensive from local outfits there? Environmentalists. But anyway, the question is the detrimental effects in that region from that drilling that's moving forward.
And what I heard, and I watched one press conference on it, and what Biden said was exactly what you said. They couldn't have stopped it anyway. But what they've done is by making the move to let that go, they preserved a lot more wildlife and a lot more of Alaska by doing it. So I'm going to ask if Biden's trade-off is right. Is that true? Because I can tell you right now, if they're doing anything with oil, it's going to screw up the wildlife. So as if climate change wasn't doing enough of that.
Yeah, the fight up to this decision was done the best way they can. So I do have that 5 of Swords starting out first, and the burdens, but the empathetic leader there in Biden did the best he could. So yeah, the struggle's real. He didn't want this to happen, but there was no way out. So the struggle is real, but they did the best they can. The best decision they could. So I had the 6 of Swords, the caution card, and then the secret deals or something like that with the moon. It feels good, but it's a waiting game. What's going to actually happen? But there might be some deal in the backside that we don't know about. Then I had the King of Coins, the finances, and then the community card. So that's not showing devastation. It feels more like it's going to be good for the community, for maybe jobs and bringing money. So mine doesn't show devastation to the wildlife. It shows it's going to bring money and some kind of security to the area. Help. So I don't know. I see finances and money to the area in the community more so than devastation. What do you think?
I got that he tried to do a thoughtful decision. That's 2 of Cups. It was just a standoff, and it was you couldn't do winner take all. It's a change from what he had wanted to have to say, but it would end the rest of the devastation he saw coming if they didn't go ahead with this, because they could block in the future. And the justice will be done over the whole deal eventually. But it's one of those trade-offs you have to make so we can have the oil we need for cars and things. The 180 degrees is 3-degree turn was when he was saying that he didn't have all of the facts and figures on what had been agreed to and how far the contracts had gone.
Yeah, it's still clean up on aisle 45. Still dealing with all the contracts and everything 45 put in place.
Oh, this will be fun.
Okay. You heard about that. They tried to get her to lie, basically.
Yes.
In discovery. And now she's suing.
Yes, and she's suing them for how she was treated, and she was sexually intimidated and all that other stuff. And
like that doesn't happen at Fox News?
Never.
Sexual harassment never has happened at Fox News, has it?
No, it's only cost O'Reilly and Ailes their careers.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. The concern and
I thought was interesting is what she said they wanted her to say, which was to set up Bartoloma as the fall person, the person that was all going to fall on if it all fell apart. They wanted her to say really bad things about Bartoloma when actually she saw Carlson being more of a cheerleader for the whack jobs.
It's blowing up his case, Fox News' case.
Yeah, they're scared of it.
Dominion
scared of
Internet.
it. Yeah. I think what they thought they had in check, they thought they had in balance 2 of Pentacles, but that was just an illusion. The 7 of Pentacles. Now they're sitting there saying, "Oh, this is not going to be this bad." They're hiding behind the 4 of Swords. But what's really going to happen to them is this is going to bring down the house, and it's going to tear apart the defense that they've put up. And what scares them even more is when they lose to who's the company in the original lawsuit, the big one. When they lose 1.6 billion, and then that gets turned over to punitive charges, and the jury gets to decide how much more they ought to take out of Fox's hide. That's going to make her lawsuit so much stronger. That's going to be another place they're going to be bleeding money.
Yeah. Smartmatic suing for $2 billion too.
Mm-hmm.
That can move forward, they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dominion. Smartmatic.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else. Don't
when
forget.
Dominion wins, then that opens up the doors to everybody else, because what could Fox say? I mean, if
Bye,
then
Fox.
no, Fox has a channel.
So yeah, so I got the King of Coins coming out here as Murdoch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's going to be a huge failure. That coercion and whatnot, big trouble. So I have
Mm-hmm.
10 of Swords, Murdoch, and he made a huge mistake. I focus on that face palm there. His lawyers or whoever tried to coerce her there,
Mm-hmm.
they made a huge mistake. It's moving forward, and she will succeed. It's going to take a lot of time, but she's going to succeed with this Knight of Coins. The Chariot, it's strong and good. I got her here coming out of the Queen of Cups. In due time, what I'm getting here, in due time, Fox News will have to change.
Mm-hmm.
So I get this patience, caution, there's problems happening, which way do you turn? It's going to turn into a family, a better outfit. It's going to be better, calming. So all this chaos, these lawsuits, it's like it takes a tower moment to create change.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a power moment. They're doing bad things. So they're going to have to change. It's already coming out a little bit here and there, drip, drip, that people are realizing they lied to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hide this, Fox, all these lawsuits, these big ones with the Smartmatic, Dominion, and else. Tucker Carlson's little laugh and giggle and silliness is not going to work anymore. Laura Ingraham is trying to change her tune a little bit. Gave advice to 45.
Mm-hmm.
Stop talking about 2020. Move on. I know, right, Christine? I seen a clip that the press secretary ripped on a Fox News person. Basically, if your question is stupid, I'm not talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can see your way out. Yeah, that's about right. But when viewership...
The other way to get Fox News is if the public becomes aware enough of how corrupt and how terrible their stuff was, especially if Ukraine gets settled in time for us to begin to understand what their lies and situations were. But it'll give people like me who don't like my basic cable having to pay for Fox. I would never watch it, and they get a lot of money out of cable.
Yeah. Eventually, they will have to do something different. Those top ones that have been lying like crazy like that,
Mm-hmm.
they will be held to account. They'll probably just end up in their own podcast and crying and whining. Alex Jones is still on his silly podcast. Indicted Steve Bannon still on his podcast.
Wasn't he supposed to be put in prison in October or something?
Well, he's supposed to be appealing to the circuit court or something. Should be coming up any time where if he doesn't, or the ruling, if it's because there was a stay putting on him going to prison pending appeal, but then he lost all his attorneys, so I don't know what happened here. So I guess it's a pending appeal yet, but it's supposed to be due anytime. The judge gave him a couple months to appeal or some crazy stuff. I'll just go back here quick. Newsmax returned to DirecTV. Newsmax came down on their price.
Mm-hmm.
They can return to DirecTV. They signed a contract. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was only a contract issue. They weren't booting them off.
No, they weren't booting them off because of their opinions or anything else. Newsmax wanted more than people were watching.
So they came down to a reasonable price. Then, like, okay, this is how much advertising we can get for your crappy TV.
Mm-hmm.
This is our offer. And Newsmax said, fine, to make some money. That's all it is. It's just contracting. What's the Kremlin doing about this nuclear weapons at Belarus? Storing nuclear weapons in Belarus. I mean, we have weapons all around too, but it's controlled by our military.
And we all know how well Russia's military is controlled.
It's controlled by prisoners right now.
Mm-hmm.
The prisoner conscripts.
The Wagner Group. Okay. I got Justice and the Three of Pentacles, which means he had to go in collusion with someone else. I've got the Seven of Wands reversed. This is not a good move to defend Russia. And it's going to lead to a lot of false fighting about stuff. But the real reason Putin did it was so he could feel like an emperor again. I can go put things around in other countries.
Yeah, it feels like a contract. I got that Three of Coins too.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a contract, like a gift to Belarus. Not sure why.
Belarus?
Or Belarus, yeah. Sorry. But it doesn't really matter. It's going to be restricted. It feels like within the world frame. I don't sense any bad things from this, but because it's surrounded by NATO, right? So it feels some kind of contract, maybe some money involved, whatever. But there's going to be restrictions no matter what. It's like they're surrounded. I got the death card, angelic, and a new path.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Putin's alive. I think it's.
You still think it's a body double too, don't you?
I think it's body doubles. This is my death card. He's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Did
angel.
the oligarchs figure out a way to just sort of say he's not here? Or do they not want to take on the war until they can figure out how to get out of it?
I don't know how they can. I mean, this is looking for a way. This is looking for a way to end. I really thought it would be ending for a while. Justice is coming. There's a balancing here. It feels more oligarchy. This could be the Kremlin. It feels like they just want to. So Belarus is on the Russia's side, right? They're kind of aligned.
Belarus. Yeah, he put the guy who's president of Belarus. They did the same thing they did in Ukraine. Remember, they installed a guy in Ukraine, and that's the one that Manafort worked for. And then
Right.
he got kicked out by his people. So
It just feels like they're making an alignment. It feels
Mhm.
like it's like
Do they have? I mean, you got to have if those nuclear things are going to like be able to reach us and cause us any problem. You have to have some big ass launch things and stuff. They don't have those in Belarus, do they?
I have
I
no
mean,
clue.
you could send a nuclear weapon to my house and it ain't got nothing happen to it except I have no place to put it, you know?
Right? Well, they said North Korea's missiles could hit us in a few minutes.
Well,
They
they
already
say,
said.
they say. I also read a really interesting, there's an interesting article in this week's Newsweek about the international military group that kind of watches over everything, talking about how fast Russia's running out of everything and how Putin's running around saying that in 3 years he's going to build so many tanks and all this stuff. And they said it wouldn't even make up for what he's losing in the fields right now. And because they've been cut off from all the world's supply of materials they need. Yeah, you look fuzzy, Scott.
I'm going blurry. There's
Yeah.
energy around. I gotta. All right,
There you go. That worked.
go away. Still a little blurry.
A little bit. But anyway, they said that Russia doesn't have the international connections to be able to get in the goods it needs to manufacture that kind of stuff, much less they're not manufacturing anything for their people that they need.
Still a little blurry. All right.
Okay, anyway, a crazy business.
Idaho. Feel so sorry for these red states.
Oh, I don't. You heard what happened in Wyoming yesterday, didn't you?
What was that?
Wyoming passed a law when Obama passed Obamacare. And to protect its citizens from Obamacare, they created a health care law that said that every man and woman had a right to choose their own health care. So, using that, a women's group in Wyoming went to the Wyoming Supreme Court and said they should have a right to abortion, that there's no one should be able to deny them that because of how the law was written. Yesterday, Wyoming just became a state where you can get an abortion. And the red state did it to himself. They wrote that law to hurt Obama, and they've ended up making
Good.
abortion. I know.
No. Yeah. Ian says North Korea missiles could hit the U.S. West Coast in 8 minutes, according to reports. Good Lord.
Another reason to leave California.
Climate change, prices, and earthquakes.
See,
And,
earthquakes would do it for me.
and North Korea. Thanks for the stream.
I have a
Yeah.
lot of friends in California would hate to see go that way.
Oh, Pegasus lives in Idaho. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So few people are ever given the death penalty in Idaho. Just ridiculous. GOP.
It's just, they're just saying something to make a statement. It's got nothing to do with anything that's going to help anybody that lives in Idaho.
He didn't pay attention. Okay. Crazy state bill. No, really. Oh. What's next? Let's see. Idaho. What's the energy in Idaho?
I do. The only fun fact I know about Idaho is that it is not an Indian word. There was a legislator in the U.S. House of Representatives, when they were going to admit it as a state, and he thought Idaho sounded like a good Indian name to give the state. So they named it Idaho, and it actually is not an Indian word. It's just a word they made up that sounded Indian to them.
I feel bad for Idaho. These laws are going to be failures, but I don't see them changing until different leadership.
Mm-hmm.
These laws are going to affect a lot of people, and they're going to cause chaos. They're going to cause loss, negative energy that's coming in hard. There's going to be dark times, strong dark times in Idaho for some people. Because it's the Knight of Wands is usually very nice. The Chariot's usually very nice, but it's centralized in all the darkness of these bills. So these bills, it's kind of like a top. These three together with the dark one in the middle, it feels like a tower moment feeling. It's like all that positive energy is enveloped by these bad bills. I had these bad bills passing with the Three of Coins. The Page of Swords is new bad things happening, all because Congress voted them in.
Well, Idaho's had a weird. I looked it up because I wanted to see if their death penalty stuff. First of all, it's rarely given, even in cases where it's stated it should be. But they had a firing squad on the books until 1982. Then they went to lethal injection. In 2009, the firing squad option was removed, and that left injection as the sole method. But injection became difficult when the drug manufacturers quit making the drugs to do it. But before that, their only legal method of before 78, it was hanging. So, which is the state?
It's just unbelievable. These laws being put in are just hurting people. It's silly. But kudos to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, creating great bills thanks to Democratic leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota has free school lunches now. Boom. Love it. Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, we're in the fight for our life. If Janet doesn't win in a few weeks, we're in big trouble if she doesn't win. The state will be gerrymandered for the next 20 years if Janet doesn't win.
Well, in North Carolina, they got the map overturned that was originally drawn. Since then, the Supreme Court, it switched from being a 4-3, 4 Democrats, 3 Republicans, to a 5-2, 5 Republicans, 2 Democrats. What do you think map's going to go through?
Yes.
Okay, about the Native Americans getting their seats in Congress? No. 9 of Pentacles, no. 5 of Wands, no matter how much fighting and people do about it. The only good card it got in here, and I think this says eventually they will, just not like tomorrow. And then it's because people don't want to share 6 Pentacles upside down. Especially now the Supreme Court we have now, that's where it'd have to come from.
Light will be shine, but it's dark times.
Mm-hmm.
I have the wonderful card, which should be, but
not
going to happen currently. Things will change once there's better leadership involved. Things will change. We need patience. The Wheel of Fortune, eventually, things will be better the way they should be. There's a fight. It's kind of like what's going on with um, the Republican platform. That's what I'm sensing.
They
It's
don't have one.
right. It's all that infighting battling. So once the truth comes out of all these Republican misdeeds, we will have the wheel of fortune, and all things will get better. Just like Minnesota and Michigan, Pennsylvania is moving forward, those flip states, it'll happen at some point. The clarity, the love, the miracles, the healing. We need better leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We need more Democrats. Love and light to the Democrats winning.
Well, the Democrats are doing pretty good on the floor. When you hear them back
Yeah.
the Republicans down, they're really getting their point across.
Yeah. We have to. That's what they needed to do all the time, even in 2020 season, in debates. Hit them hard with their lives. I'm here to work for the people. This person is
Mm-hmm.
plastering lies. And hit them why, what they say. So we got to keep doing. Otherwise, the American people will not see it. Fox News comes to justice. Newsmax will have to start telling the truth a little bit. OAN, all that. It takes time, folks. It's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
What will finally make Republicans? When Orange Jesus is out of the picture.
A lot of them have come out. When they talk about the majority of Republicans, first of all, it's hard to say who is a Republican and not in some states. We don't have registered parties in Texas. The only way you can tell who's Republican or Democrat is to see who votes in primaries. But in states that have registered Republicans and Democrats, Republicans' numbers are going away. And a lot of the people that were part of their real leadership, unfortunately, like the Lincoln Project and stuff. And there's a guy who lives in Wimberley, Texas, who is a big thought person for them. They've left, and they say that the majority of people they know are leaving. So when they talk about the majority of Republicans still support Trump, it's a smaller number of a smaller number. Okay. So, and I think the faster that we do some legal action against these clowns, thank you, Lady Life. The faster that we get these guys in jail and show that they have to pay for it. Because trust me, the fact that the Department of Justice has arrested 1,000 of them and is still looking for another 500. One, they know where he is. He's in Belarus. But find the others. Do you think that didn't have an effect on Trump saying, come out and protest for me? They're going, and then I get to go to D.C. and hang out with the guy with horns. Of course, they can always get a jail visit from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, that's sad of the news. They're basically treated like Club Med in the nicer part of the jail. Access to TV, laptops, phone calls.
Some of them, that's more life than they ever had before.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they said a bunch of them, they've had to spend a whole lot of money fixing them because they had undiagnosed problems.
Health problems?
And, yeah, health problems. They're getting really good health service.
Good Lord.
Jasmine, her first name's Jasmine. She's a congresswoman from Dallas. I've actually met her. She's really cool. She's really a smart, smart woman. And she went along. She was one of the 2 Dems that went and saw them in the jails. And she said, they ought to come around and see some jails in Texas if they want to see real jails.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was very disappointed I really felt like we were moving forward, to have
Mm-hmm.
more democratic leadership. But I think the whole plan here, moving forward with enlightenment, and everyone talks
Mm-hmm.
about ascension and moving up in the world, there was more negativity to be removed and exposed yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why 2022 didn't happen.
Completely.
So you needed more tower moments to have enough people to start seeing the light. The Kool-Aid's too deep, so you need people exposed yet, rather than basically justice needs to happen, that balancing act, before we can
Well,
move
people need
forward.
to see that people pay for what they do, or they pay for supporting someone who's a crook and a thief, so that they don't jump along and get and go along with it. I don't know if you watched all of the January 6th hearings. I did,
Yeah,
and there was a young man. There's a guy there. He looked like he was in his late 30s, early 40s, and he testified that he showed up because Trump told him to, and he talked about how he'd gotten into the social media silo and lost everything, and his poor wife was sitting behind him. And I mean, it was, you really felt badly for people that get that wound up, that they don't have more resources in their life than to get sucked into that. But in the case of some of them, it was the resources in their life that suck them into it. It's their churches and places like that that ought to be good foundational places that aren't, that pulled them in too. But you know, somebody wrote on in this chat, it's because people only hear what they want to hear, and
yes,
to some extent that's true. And it also means that people that want to make change have to go out, and you have to volunteer to go door to door, and you have to go knock on your neighbors' doors. I remember in Dallas for so long we had one newspaper. If you read it, you would have thought everybody here was so Republican. It was unbelievable. We ran an event for Democrats in 2005. Obama came and spoke, Harry Reid spoke, and Joe Biden spoke. And everybody kept saying, you're going to be lucky if you get 500 people in the park because it's a Democratic event. We got 5,000. We couldn't really advertise anything. Uh, uh, the progressive radio station that Al Franken used to be on was up at that time, so they advertised it for us. But we got 5,000 people in that park, and I cannot tell you how much that changed. A bunch of people had been thinking about running for judge, ended up deciding maybe there was a hope of running for judge. That was the year that the vote changed Dallas to a blue county. And but people have been so brainwashed to thinking there's no Democrats near me. And I know I read it all the time. I'm a little blue spot in a big red sea. Well, you go out and start talking, and you'll find more blue spots, and you can pull them together. And that's how we got to change this, because Wisconsin has the same demographics basically as Michigan. It could have a Democratic governor and a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate and a Democratic judiciary like they do in Michigan now. 80% of the people in America live in states that have Democratic governors, Democratic houses, and Democratic judiciaries. I happen to live in the biggest state that doesn't, and it's an abomination because they don't do anything for anyone. And Florida has the same problem. But it's the perception,
yeah,
it's what you're told all the time. It's not what's really out there if you really look at the numbers. And if you want to just, y'all are savvy enough to find us, sign up and get on Ballotpedia's newsletter. They will give you hope and encouragement, and they'll also tell you where we're in trouble. It's nonpartisan. So you will read good things about red states too. But you get real numbers from them. I would count on their numbers over any media outlet.
yeah, yeah. There was On MSNBC, Mehdi Hassan did a good article
Yes.
on
Yes.
about Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Wisconsin, with proper maps, fair maps, would be a Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so gerrymandered so bad that
But
the
you have
Republicans,
referendum laws in Wisconsin, right?
most likely, it's
Yeah, you
pretty,
do. I do
it's
because I
pretty
helped a
fair.
friend of mine. I helped a friend of mine put a referendum together up there. You have referendum laws. That's how Michigan got rid of its gerrymandering. A young woman said, "Why is this happening?" Looked it up and found out if I start a referendum petition, we can make it an open ballot vote. So they voted to change their redistricting to the method they use now, and they got a fair map. You live in a state that can do that. I do not. We do
Mhm.
not have referendum laws. So if you live in a state and you don't like how it's going and you don't like something that's in it, look up and see what the referendum laws are. You'll meet a lot of fun people, make new friends, and maybe change your life.
Yeah, it's like I kind of get the sense like these Democratic governors and stuff are just basically always playing defense just to keep keep the keep the state sane from all these draconian laws.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, Kentucky's got a Democratic governor,
But he's
Brashear.
got a Republican House and Senate that he has to work against.
Same with
That's a problem, but at
Wisconsin.
least you got someone in there somewhere. And all I'm saying is every single person that's listening to this has to decide to make a change about it. And I know, don't tell me you're too old. I'm older than you are, I guarantee
Not
you.
enough. There's a lot of 200 to 800 people towns. They're not even incorporated all over Wisconsin. They're sheltered. All these
Sheltered for
small,
what?
they're out in the country, you know.
So they're unincorporated. We have unincorporated places too. That's where when Texas was so dry and had such bad alcohol laws, you could we had unincorporated towns that fought to stay that way because then they could sell booze. But
Yeah,
you know,
they don't
you
have.
know,
Yeah, they don't have to set up a government and have that money spent on police departments and everything else. They just stay unincorporated.
which police department did they use then?
The counties,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
But they're paying county taxes, right? They just don't want to pay city taxes.
right. They don't have to have the well system. They don't have to, they don't have to have all those expenses. They just stay unincorporated and let the county take care of them. Because there's really not enough people to be subsistent,
Mm-hmm.
to be taxed like that. So it's just, so they pay the county to take care of them instead of having a city tax and government.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, yeah, just
Now that we've preached to everybody, which I tend to do at the end of the day.
so cards for the week, some love, some inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
We're at hour and 38. My youngest daughter needs a little help moving again.
Uh-oh.
Her and her boyfriend couldn't find a house to buy because
Mm.
they're small demand and high.
Mm-hmm.
And the cousin she's living with decided to buy another house. So in the last 6 months, she's moving again because she lives with her cousin right now.
Mm-hmm.
So she needs help.
Okay.
I got to head to go see her and grab my truck and move some furniture.
Does she know where she's moving?
Yeah. Her cousin should have never bought this other house. She should have just waited for the original plan.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to buy the house that she grew up in
Oh, okay.
in the family, but her cousins were currently living there, and they originally said, "Oh, we're probably going to stay there 2-3 years yet."
Mm-hmm.
Well, she bought this other house.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter and her moved from a duplex into that new house. Now 6 months later, it opened up, so she's put the other house on the market. It sold within a month.
Mm-hmm.
So now they got to store stuff while cousins are moving. It's insanity. Move, move, move. So anyway,
Okay, my
inspiration
card.
for the day.
I'm going to pull from the Wild Elementals from this deck. And we got Ladybug.
Okay.
You got Ladybug, and she cute. Ladybug is good luck, past life, spiritual enlightenment, death, and rebirth, which we're all going through right now. Ladybug appearing in your life heralds times of luck, when the seeds you have planted will start to unfurl and you'll see the results of your hard work. Sometimes this good luck comes after a time of darkness. Know that what has happened for a reason, and going forward, joy and happiness will start to push away the darkness. So I think we need that message today after looking at the darkness. What'd you get, Scott?
It feels like, so I use my cards, my extraterrestrial.
It is wonderful extraterrestrial.
So the first one was male ancestor. So this feels like the God source here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the universal energies, because I got that next to it. So pay attention to our feelings for the divine guidance from the God source, the creative energy. You know, because those senses are always coming at. Because I kind of feel like it's a good time. There's universal energies coming in that with planets shifting and everything. You can get, it feels like you can receive some energy from the universe right now.
It's opening up, guys.
So just pay attention to your own feelings and senses, even though you may not be, you know, health wise and whatnot. Just accept. It just feels like I'm getting this information. Like when you're feeling off or whatever, pay attention to your physical and emotional environment. This shows like a brief meditation kind of feeling. Grab your crystals, grab whatever you want, and just imagine light and Reiki energy coming from the universe. And I feel like this is a great time for healing. They're telling me there's like a 3 to 4 week period here right now. It's really good. The universal source is opening for natural healing. So try that. Just a brief little time, just get quiet. But, you know, if you're feeling off or whatnot, that's your senses and everything telling you, hey, something's going on. Just take a break and imagine the universe healing yourself. So that's what I'm getting today.
Okay. We need to thank Linda Reeves and Poetic Justice.
Yes, of course. Bless you, Linda, again for your kind donation.
And I saw Monica up about midway in, and I think we missed her because we were flapping our lips.
Yeah, I did mention the one donation. I think I mentioned them all.
I thought you did, but I didn't hear Monica, and that's probably because I was talking at the time. We have a chatty little group.
Just, you know, we can always remember when things get rough and we're feeling down and whatnot, whatever it is, the universe is there for us. You know, it's like I had some bad energy one day. I think I've talked about it before. Something weird was going on. I was maybe trying to help someone with some healing before I went to sleep or whatever. But there was this intense energy, and I could sense it, right? So when I was driving for my job, I stopped at a rest area. I found the first tree. I didn't care who seen me. I gave that tree a big old hug and imagined it taking everything away from me. Instantaneous, it was all gone.
Right.
Energy was there. It just took it away. Thank you, tree. Thank you, universe. And I felt so much better. And it just felt like this ickiness all over me, and I was feeling tired, and I knew something was off. And I used that tree, and it took my energy away that I did not need. Oh, bless you, Linda. We always miss you.
Mm.
And the sweetie in the chat and everyone else. Earth Mama
Yeah,
and
you
Shen.
guys are the best chatters.
It's a lovely community, and everyone's so precious to each other, and that's what we love and desire. It brings out great energy and focus. And what you were talking about before, Nancy, it takes, the 5,000 people that came, it's one person at a time.
Well, it started with one person saying, I'm not just going to hand these candidates a check. If they want to come get the money in Texas, you have to. Scott's still having vision
I'm
problems with his
going,
camera.
energy's coming in again.
It started with one guy named Doug who said, the deal is, and you may not know this, but when people gather money together to give to candidates, the candidates have to come physically to the state and collect the checks. And so a guy named Doug said, they come and we'll have lunch with them and we'll talk to them. But I want people to see these candidates. So the first group, he had me come organize the event because he knew I knew how to organize people. He knew how to find money. And he found the money to do it. And my oldest son and I organized the group to do it. And it kind of grew out from there. And that's how I ended up eventually working for Obama. But, and the first three people was Obama, Harry Reid, who was president of the Senate. And that was the same week as Harry had locked the Senate down to talk about Iraq. And the Republicans are outraged because they made them give up their cell phones and everything. But anyway, long story short, it started with Doug and it ended up being that 5,000 people. So it could start with something you think, we just ought to do this. It would make us better. And one of the things you can do is get enough news so that you're not ignorant about the world, but don't tie in to the mainstream media right now. The people who own the media like an angry, fearful public because then they can kind of run you around like sheeple. And the best thing we can do is keep our own self to our own selves. And I haven't talked to Scott about this yet, but I'm changing my channel a slight bit because Nancy Jean's Garden was supposed to be a chance to have a place to come see what kind of seeds you need to grow your spiritual soul. And I'm going back to that each week. I'm going to have, and try to be on twice a week. And I'm going to have someone on or talk about a technique because if you only know cards, or you only know pendulums, or you only know crystals, or you only know one thing, that's the tool you're going to try to use. And I find that knowing a lot of different ways to express your spirituality, including hugging trees, going and walking in the grass, breathing in, just taking time to breathe. All those are really important techniques to learn or to be aware of. And I think sometimes we forget things that we know. And with things changing so fast. So that's where my channel is going to be going more, talking about all the different ways we can read. Because Scott knows it. He's got crystals around him. He's got gongs and bells and yes.
Vibration.
And,
I've gotten in a habit of using my tuning fork to clear out my energy prior. It feels really good. Like crystals, I got a crystal sphere. Crystals help accelerate that Zen moment of release. Even focus. I tried
understanding numbers. So when you start running into understanding numbers, the numerology, so when you start running into a bunch of fives or a bunch of twos, or
yes, yeah, seeing the 111 pop up, whatnot, yeah, all that. Oh, it's 11:22. That's moving up anyway.
1122 is at least one master number in there.
Yeah.
11's a master number too because it's outside of 1 to 10.
I did. I noticed when I put crystals in a big crystal in the middle and a sequence of like a hexagon.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to connect to the universe when you want to meditate, whatever. Put that in front of you. I just put it on my hands, or even using your grid. Put your hands on the grid and connect with that, and it's just it feels like so much easier. You know, it flows with the universe and using crystals.
Crystal grids are like little batteries waiting for us to connect to them. That's what they do. But there's just so many ways to do it, and you know, it's like when I found the neurographic painting. It's a way to meditate without having to sit in a chair and be quiet because I'm not real good at that.
Yeah, that can be difficult.
So whatever you can find, do it. And
yeah, you don't have. I mean, it kind of feels like an hour of meditation. You can cut it down by using your crystals. Because it's like an instantaneous release. You know, it's like those energy sources. Those, what do you want to say? They're almost like little power stations. You know, they have that source of energy. So you can do you can do that. Like an automatic writing or journaling. But it all helps.
So, and we are going through a time of change, and it's really a true statement. It's always darkest before the dawn. And last week was a hell of a week for planetary movement. So,
oh, cool, Christine. Yeah, it is hard that President Obama didn't get enough done, but he did a good job. Compassionate man. But generally, the Republicans were in charge, and everything got stymied.
Well, that's when they really started. I'll look her up, genealogy junkie. I'll write her down in my notebook.
So anyone have a blessed day? I got to get going to help my daughter.
He's got to go be a good daddy.
Love to all, and thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Bye.